For more on the resignation of Nairobi Deputy Governor Polycarp Igathe, I'm now joined in studio by city lawyer Steve Ogola. Thanks very much for being with us. Let's get quickly into what the law says about this resignation and whether or not the Governor Mike Sonko can appoint a new governor. Let's begin with what the law says about the resignation of a deputy governor.
Thank you, Lillian. The short and straight answer is that the resignation of the deputy governor is of no legal consequence. The role of the deputy governor is merely facilitative. He performs functions assigned to him by the governor, and he acts while the governor is away. So then the constitution is silent on what happens if the deputy governor resigns. What then that means in terms of interpretation is that the governor is not permitted to nominate another person to act as deputy because they are elected as a ticket. What the constitution has not expressly provided for, the governor cannot innovate out of it and create a position. But what he could do is that the functions that were being performed by the deputy could be silently reassigned to another county executive committee member.
Who in this case?
He would have to find out someone he can work with, but such other person cannot, for all practical purposes, deem himself to be the deputy governor. That provision, these are some of the inadequacies in the constitution. We did not anticipate that a deputy governor will resign abruptly in this manner. So while there is no legal consequence, there may be serious political ramifications as a consequence of the deputy governor resigning. Because the thing is,
so you're saying that this resignation actually exposes weaknesses in the constitution, and that there is no direction whatsoever on what the direction would be in the event of a deputy governor resigning?
Yes, that's true. The constitution has some incurable gaps that may only be corrected through amendments. For instance, by way of example, Article 166, sub-Article 3, mentions an non-existent provision. It says that if you look at Article 166, sub-Article 2, it mentions a paragraph, clause 6, which does not exist in the constitution. I think it is true that the constitution was maybe drafted in a rush. There could be some kind of harmonization needed to be done, some kind of correction needed to be done. We can now see clearly that the absence of the deputy governor will significantly affect the ability of the governor to govern if he's away. He may have to nominate someone to hold forth, but that person cannot perform the functions of a deputy governor, because in the absence of a deputy governor, the deputy governor is the one that acts, and the law specifies who is the deputy governor. This is a person elected on the same ticket by the governor at the ballot. The
political ramifications, Steve, as we continue with this conversation, this is not an appointive post, it's an elective post.
Yes.
So talking about Igathe's political constituency, part of which is represented in the county assembly, yes. Let's talk about the ramifications.
You see, the deputy governor brings both legal and political dividends to the governor, because they are elected at the ballot, and it's assumed that when you're negotiating a ticket, you bring someone with clout. So what happens when when your deputy withdraws that support through resignation? It may speak negatively to his constituency, and if his constituency feel aggrieved, remember the deputy governor has a discernible interest in the affairs of the country, although he has no significant role, but politically he could be the glue that holds the government together. So what I think Sonko will have to do, Governor Sonko will have to do, he will have to govern delicately and appealing to the constituency, both in the county assembly, because there are MCAs in the county assembly that certainly support the deputy governor, because they campaigned as a ticket. And there may be also those constituencies represented by the MCAs that also support the deputy governor. If the governor is not careful on how he governs now, then he may face serious challenges, including legal proceedings to remove him if there is no confidence in him. But I think what now, an urgent question that lawyers must debate, and all Kenyans, is whether now we may need to relook at the constitution and probably rework it, amend it, to allow the governor to appoint a new deputy if the law so does. But for now, that provision cannot be cured through legislation. Because you see, when the constitution provides that the deputy governor is elected at the ballot with the governor and is silent on the manner of reappointment of another, if in case he resigns, you cannot innovate to cure that gap through ordinary legislation. You must look at the constitution.
And just back to the role of a deputy governor, which has not been clearly defined since the inception of devolution. There's been a lot of talk over what really the role of deputy governors is. A lot of them feeling that their mandate is not clearly spelled out. Would it be in order to say that the current governor can continue in his mandate without a deputy? Is it of importance and quick importance that that somebody actually steps in to take in the role of deputy for now? Actually,
a case in point is Machakos. There's a time that Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua governed effectively without the involvement or participation of Bernard Kilu, who was the deputy governor. It is true that the Constitution only views the deputy governor as a governor in waiting, so that insofar as the governor is in substantive, insofar as the governor is in office and able to perform his functions, he merely runs errands for the governor. He stands in when the governor is away. He performs functions that may be assigned to him or may not be assigned to him. So then it is possible in law that Governor Sonko can continue to govern without a deputy, and the functions that Igathe are performing be reassigned. However, what cannot be legislated, and what has not certainly been legislated, is how to deal with the constituency that Igathe now leaves behind. I think that would be the challenge therein.
And for what we have as of now is that the Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko has received the resignation of Deputy Governor Polycarp Igathe. Will be getting more on details surrounding this resignation and what it essentially means for Nairobi County. Thank you very much, Steve Ogola, for your thoughts on this matter. Citizen Weekend continues, and